You ever just sit down after you finish something up and you go, awesome, step 1 done. I'm gonna work on step 2 tomorrow. And then you go on Twitter and you see, oh hey, everything you just spent time doing, you may as well just throw that in the trash because something has happened and it nullified a lot of what you were talking about. Basically, I recorded audio talking about SMT55, and then I went on Twitter after I finished, and then Atlas just so happened to announce a new trailer for SMT55 that's like a complete bunch of changes and little adjustments and all these things. It's like a full overview trailer, basically. It's 13 minutes. And I just thought, wow, there's going to be stuff in here that's just going to completely nullify so many of the points that I talked about. So I just threw that in the garbage, and now I gotta re-record all of this now that it's out, and it's so much fun. Anyway, we are about a month away from SMT5 Vengeance releasing. Initially, it was supposed to come out on the 23rd of June, but now it's been pushed up. Maybe not the 23rd, I actually don't remember what its original release date was. It was the same release date as the Elden Ring DLC, but now it's been moved forward because Elden Ring DLC. And I thought now would be a perfect time to go back over everything that has been announced, or maybe not everything, I'll get into that a little bit later, and just see how do I feel about SMT55 now compared to my initial thoughts. First off, if you want to know my full in-depth thoughts on what I thought about SMT55 when it was first announced, go check out that video, I give my impressions. If you want a little summary, you don't want to go back and watch that, my original thoughts were naho-hee-ho, 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 naho-hee-ho. So let's get on with it. I got a list of pros, cons, and a few additional thoughts that I'm going to be going over. Let's start with the pros. First off, the game running at a steady 60 FPS is amazing to see. I wasn't too bothered by how the game ran on Switch, but just looking at footage from PS5 and all these other, like, PC or whatever, it just looks so good. I'm absolutely going to be getting the game on PS5. I love the Switch. I have the original game on Switch, but man, I would like to play it at a good frame rate. That would be very nice. I'm still a massive fan of picking which campaign you want to play at the very beginning of the game. All new story content in these like enhanced re-releases should be like this, in my opinion. It seems like this is actually going to be a real story this time. The Canon of Vengeance seems like it'll actually be like a real story. I feel like I've made it clear how I love the concepts and ideas in SMT5, and I think they're incredibly interesting, but the problem lies entirely with the execution of how they told that story, the canon of creation. They aren't remaking that story. That story feels like it just kind of... It was told. The only way to fix it would be to entirely remake it, to redo it, and they're not doing that. And frankly, I would prefer them not to. I would prefer something new, which is what they're doing here. They're using the same tools from that original game, that original story, the same characters, the same lore, all of that, and they're using it to tell a new story, one that can hopefully, seems like it will be redeeming a lot of the potential that story, that narrative always had. Speaking of narrative and characters, it is great to have Maxima back. The trustworthy man is always a great time, and I'm really hoping that him being here doesn't mean anything when it comes to a certain other character showing up, but why do we not have a 3D Bugaboo in any 3D SMT game yet? Why was he not in SMT5? Why was he not in Soul Hackers 2? Can we please get a 3D Bugaboo? I love him. He's so great. Before I get too far away from the demon talk, I really have to compliment a lot of these new demon designs that Doi has come out with. They all look so good so far. Though, what are the names? There's Glacius Labolus, Amabi, which Amabi is really cool if you know the story behind Amabi in terms of like Doi specific Amabi, I mean. Obviously there's the Naho-hee-ho himself, there's the boy himself. There's the Kadishtu, which I've seen some people say that they think they are too sexualized and it can be a little too distracting, and I can totally understand that. But for me, I love how those designs really contrast a lot of the sexuality with the grotesqueness and body horror that they're going for. For those who don't know, the Kadishtu are often like a lot of times it's been translated or like they're often seen as prostitutes. That's what I'm trying to get at. They're often seen as prostitutes, particularly ones that bed Samael, which is, you know, the devil, but also kind of like them being like all evil and messed up, but also kind of sexual. I'm fine with that. I really like that contrast. It reminds me a lot of, I'm blanking on that demon's name, but it was a demon in SMT5 that also is like, ooh, super sexy woman, but it's actually like a rotting corpse with its body cut in half. I am completely blanking on the name, but it reminds me of that. I think that one probably does it the best out of these 5, but I still like what the Kadishtu's designs are doing. I also really, really love how we're getting some African demons for, I think, the first time in the series. We got, was it, Onyakapon, Anansi, and I am blanking on the last one's name. I am completely blanking on its name. I'm so sorry, little guy. It's a dragon, apparently, and it just looks like a nail. Speaking of designs, Nahobino has a brand new form, and it looks really, really cool. Something that wasn't clear, or at least it wasn't obvious, when SMT5 came out, there was apparently this consistent theme of the Snake God and the Bull God. And SMT5 was, a lot of it was being told from the Snake God perspective. And it wasn't really something that I really paid attention to, or I feel like many people even were aware of, until the director came out and talked about this, and it was like, yeah, there's the Snake God and the Bull God, and then for Vengeance, we're gonna focus more on the Bull God. And then in retrospect, it's like, oh, I can actually see a lot of like the snake influences all throughout SMT5. Like, the one that always comes to mind for me is Nahobino's default form. Not only does he have like the super long flowing hair that's kind of like, you know, it's like a snake, but also his energy beam is floppy, it's not stiff until you actually attack with it. Which, you know, it moves like a snake, and I always thought that was a really cool detail. But now I'm aware that, hey, it's a snake. That's cool. That's neat. The more you know. But yeah, this new design looks really cool. It looks very much like a bull. Rather than having the long hair, it's much shorter. He also kind of, I think it's his ears. I don't remember what it is. I'm not looking at it right now, but he kind of has like horns almost. It looks really cool, and I'm curious to see what this form will do in terms of gameplay. Like, will it change up his stats? Will it just be purely cosmetic? Like, what is the deal with this new Bull God form? Also, what is its name? Because I don't think it's going to be called Bull God form. From that, we should talk about the gameplay. The first thing that really kind of sticks out to me, especially after watching that complete guide trailer they just released, Innate Skills. Initially, when they announced this, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. It'll help make each demon more unique. But it turns out this is way, way more than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like, oh, this guy has increased agility when his health is low. And thought like, oh, it's only going to, you know, be little things like that. No, this actually has some pretty massive implications and effects on how you build your party, because you can synergize these unique skills. It almost reminds me of like building a deck in a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like Marvel Snap or something. You can make all these combos that like, oh, all of these demons, they all have innate skills that deal with fire and boosting fire skills. And it just drastically, it changes so much. You can have innate skills that will like, oh, you can summon a demon or swap demons from your active party to your backup party for free without wasting a turn. But also, there are demons that will have innate skills that activate upon being summoned in the party in the middle of battle. So you can build your party in ways that everyone complements each other in a way that's just, I feel like hasn't really been done in an SMT game before. It sounds really interesting, and I want to see what this does. I want to see how this works. It sounds like a really interesting way of going about making these demons not just more unique, but also just making your party composition matter so much more. Another thing I'm really excited for is fusion spells. I mean, they're called group skills here, but they're fusion spells. It's fusion spells. I think fusion spells is just such a cool idea, and I hated that it was just not used in any Atlas game for such a long time. It really wasn't until Persona 3 Reload brought it back in the form of the 3G system. And it just, I want to see how is this going to be used in a modern context when it's not simply just remaking what was already there. It's actually doing something new. Probably one of the more interesting new additions when it comes to demons is Demon Haunts. Basically, it's these little areas you can go and you can talk to all of the demons you have in your party. They'll just be like hanging out, doing whatever. You can converse with them. You can give them gifts, have special conversations with them, and then like it'll improve their stats. It sounds kind of interesting. I hope it's, you know, they showed a decent amount, but I hope a lot of these conversations or like a lot of what you can do is a bit more in depth. I don't want it to be like super surface level where it's like, oh, I gave you a life stone because you talked to me a lot and I like you. I hope there's a little bit more beyond just improving stats and getting items from them. But hey, who knows? Who knows? Anything highlighting the new demons, all fine for it. I love these demons. I love these guys. Anything to put them in the spotlight is great. Speaking of putting things in the spotlight, guest party members can also show up, such as the new girl Yoko. You can get Tao, you could get Dazai, you could get basically anyone who temporarily joins your party can show up in these haunts when they are in your party. But at the same time, their dialogue updates throughout the story, meaning you can learn how they feel about things. This is just tons of potential for character development that, like, if it's not in the main story, that will kind of suck. That will suck if they don't get character development in the story. But this could still do so much to fix these characters and make them so much more fleshed out and likable. You can also sit down and talk with Aogami, which, like, I always thought Aogami was cool, but, like, yeah, develop him more. Let me know who he is. Let me get to know him. Let me get to see what kind of person he is beyond just what he literally is. You can also enhance your abilities by talking with Aogami, and that's neat. I like that a lot. Okay, I still have a lot more positives, but I want to really kind of move on and not stretch this video out too much, so I'm just going to do a quick lightning round. There is a virtual trainer, which basically any boss you beat so far gets added to the virtual trainer, and you can do a boss rush where everyone can, you know, you can adjust their levels, and apparently the max level of this boss rush is 999? Jesus! Demi-Fiend is recruitable. That's really cool. It's probably once you beat what was initially his DLC. Once you actually beat him, he's recruitable. That sounds really cool. Consecutive encounters are back. Thank God. I'm surprised this was gone in the first place. Playable demons. You can play as demons in certain side quests. You can play as, for instance, Nahobiho and Alice. That's rad. That is rad. Playable demons. Oh my God. On the surface, it might not sound the most exciting, but one of the biggest changes they made is going back in and readjusting how much damage you do based on your level, making it much more possible to defeat stronger enemies at lower levels. Basically, it's promoting strategy as opposed to just raw stats, and that is something I know a lot of people had issues with the original 5, so it's awesome to see them go back and fix this. New Game Plus is also going to unlock a brand new difficulty called Godborn, in which every enemy is now set at level 150. That is fucking crazy. I will say it will probably be a much flatter difficulty curve if everyone is at a level 150, but the fact that it's 150 at all is insane. So it will probably be something where it starts off really hard and then towards the latter end you get kind of used to it or you start to figure it out and it's like not as bad, but still level 150, everything is 150. That is insane. The last thing I really wanted to mention is all the DLC from the original release is included, sans the grinding DLC, which, like, Yeah, okay, fine. But, and this is where we get into the concerns, there is a new batch of Day 1 DLC. One that adds Dagda from SMT4 Apocalypse, which I'm shocked he wasn't here in the first place. And one that adds Konohana Sakuya, which is a brand new demon. Hasn't really been in mainline SMT. Sakuya has only really been in Persona 4 and its spin-offs, because that is Yukiko's Persona, Majin Tensei 2, as well as an SMT manga called Tokyo Revelation. It also got an OVA back in the 90s. I think this new design is really, really cool. I like this design, but it's soured by the fact that it is DLC only. It's not news at this point. Atlus's DLC practices are pretty abhorrent. However, the types that annoy me the most are Day 1 story DLCs, like what they had with Soul Hackers 2 and Persona 5 Tactica, and then stuff like this, where they add the original releases DLC into the re-release, free of charge, only to just make more Day 1 DLC to replace it. To be honest, to be fair, they've only done the latter like twice now with P5 Royal and now SMT55, but it still sucks when they do it. One of my weirdly hotter takes, I didn't think it would be a hot take, but one of my weirdly hotter takes with that original impressions video is I thought save anywhere in SMT5 is unnecessary. Not because, oh, I'm against doing it, but because it's like, I thought the ley line founts were placed plentifully. There were a lot of people commenting about me feeling this way and saying it was a massive improvement and that I was just being a stupid idiot. But like, I understand why people like save anywhere, but my point was that SMT5 was designed in a way that I didn't think it was necessary. You never got sent that far back when you died, and there was a fount like everywhere. There was one right before every boss. There was a fount all over the dang place. It just, to me, it just never felt like a really big deal. Another thing, because the original game was a Switch game, you could just put it in sleep mode. If you had to like leave immediately and were nowhere near a fount, you could just put it into sleep mode, and you don't even need to worry about like a power surge happening and the console turning off, because if a power surge happens, the console would just go into handheld mode, so like you wouldn't lose anything. It just, I don't know. This was one of those things that like I didn't think me saying that would be like that big of a deal, but a lot of people were like annoyed with me, and I don't know. I still think it's unnecessary, but whatever. Save data bonuses on Nintendo Switch for Vengeance. If you have the original SMT5 on Switch, and then you get Vengeance on Switch, the save data bonus is still garbage, and I would almost rather there be no save data bonus. This is ridiculous. You can only carry over 3 demons. Really? That is so stupid. Lastly, my biggest concern, my biggest con, is the fact that he's called Naho Biho and not Naho Hiho. I don't know how you can defend that. That is just really stupid. They just go the full, go for it. You are right there. You are right there. Just do it. Do it. You want to have the pun. Go for the pun. Don't just half-ass it. Just do it. Please. Some additional thoughts that don't really fall into pro or con. I still don't really have much of an opinion on the brand new waifu, Yoko. I love her design, and I already have a few theories as to what role she'll be playing in the story, but I don't really want to cast any judgments before we see what Atlus does with her. It also seems like I had the right idea with the story veering off around the beginning of Zahori's story, though I was a bit off when I threw out the idea that Sahori wasn't going to show up at all. Lamu is missing from her Vengeance artwork, despite it ultimately being the same piece as what we got in Base 5, indicating that Lamu doesn't show up. So I feel like I'm on the right track by saying that, oh, hey, changes will probably happen once you get to Sahori. Probably instead of Lamu showing up, it'll be the Kadishtu. And I don't know. We'll see. Apparently, the latest trailer, not counting the complete guide or anything, but the World of Ideals trailer is super spoiler heavy. If you haven't seen it, don't watch it. I saw it, but funnily enough, I don't remember a single thing from it. It's not a knock against the trailer. I don't think I was paying attention like I thought I was. I'm not watching it again now that I know that it's apparently just way too spoilery, and a lot of people were like, I regret watching that. So, yeah, just don't watch it. Don't watch it. I'm not gonna watch it again. I'm stupid. I don't know. Anyway, that is kind of my general feelings about a month out before Vengeance releases. I am very, very, very excited to see what this new story has to offer, and I really hope this can be the version of SMT5 that really salvages and fixes and just like makes SMT5 maybe not universally beloved, but like gives it so much more respect that it actually deserves. I always thought SMT5 was a great game, a phenomenal game, but I understand a lot of people's shortcomings and like the reasons why they just don't like it. And I get it, but I really, really hope Vengeance can fix a lot of the problems and make this game what it should have been in the first place. Which is a sad thing to say, but let's be real. It did not live up to its potential. But what do you guys think of SMT55? How are you feeling about it? Do you think it looks really cool? Do you think it looks really lame? Do you, I don't have anything to say. Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're there, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of any future uploads. If you want to go a little bit further in supporting the channel, why not check out my Patreon? For as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to my videos, as well as scripts and other things coming out whenever I come up with it. Let me know what you think about SMT5 in the comments. I'm gonna go to sleep because it is 12:30 and I just had a long day at work from all this, and I was standing a lot, and now I'm sleepy. Okay, bye-bye. Have a beautiful time.